Compound interest is taking the simple interest formula and applying it over multiple time periods. It looks complicated, but really what it is taking simple interest. Interest equals principal times rate times time, which is a simple interest formula, but then continuing to apply that formula over a number of periods, which could be years, months, quarters, twice a year. And so it's called compound because compounding interest occurs when the simple interest formula is calculated more than once during a loan period. The calculated interest is added to the loan principal for the next interest calculation. So the main difference is this. Let's take a look here. So with simple interest, we did this. We did it one time. We applied the formula to a principal amount, multiplied it times some interest rate for a period of time. So right here what we're doing is compounding yearly. Notice this time is, remember time always has to be in years. And so we're doing it for a 1 year time period on each one of these lines. So this is year 1, year 2. So what happens that's different and why it is called compounding is because we take the $5,000 in this example and multiply it times the rate times the time, and then we calculate $200 interest. And then we have an account balance or a maturity value that we learned during simple interest calculations. In fact, I believe I have that little definition up here. Let's take a look. There it is. We have also called this the maturity value, so the account balance. So we calculated $200 in interest, and then what we did is added that to the principal. So $5,000 plus the $200 earned in 1 year's time. We now have a total of $5,200 as the account balance or the maturity value at the end of year 1 or at the end of the first compounding period. And then what happens is that this $5,200 becomes the new principal for the next year or the next compounding period. And then we apply the simple interest formula again. And this time it's $5,200 times 4% times the 1 year, which gives us $208. So we have a little bit more. And then we take that interest, add that to this the principal at the beginning of this compounding period, and we have a new account balance, $5,408. And so on and so forth. This keeps going. This 5,408, notice it becomes the next principal for the next year or the next compounding period. And we do it again. And so this is why it's called compounding, because you take that simple interest and repeat it multiple times. And then we also keep track of how much interest is accumulated over the period of time. So the first year we calculated $200, and so the compounded interest amount was $200 at the end of year 1. At the end of year 2, or at the end of that compounding period, it's 200 plus the 208 equals the $408. And so in this particular example that we're looking at here, we have compounded interest for 25 years. Now keep in mind that an accounting period could be days, months, quarters, twice a year, or years. In this particular case, we've done it for a year, 1 year. So take some time to look through these formulas. Look at how the balance has grown. We invested $5,000 initially, and 25 years later at 4%, we have an account balance of $13,000. And we've accumulated somewhat over $8,000 in interest. So that's a little introduction. little introduction to compounding interest and how these tables work. So it looks complicated, but if you break it down and rely on what you learned during the simple interest series of videos that we went through, I equals PRT is just taking that simple interest formula and using it multiple times. And so as we go through later on, we're going to apply this to savings and investment, and then buying a car, and then buying a house. So some of these things that'll be part of your life. And so a good knowledge of these finances and how these numbers are calculated will be very useful to you as you make those future financial decisions.